Hey everyone, this is Chris, and today we're going to do a final thoughts on the H123 jet from Hubsan. And before I get to that, I just wanted to, I guess, kind of clear something up. I did a couple other videos prior to this one that I'm doing right now, and I did mention that I would be putting up some flight footage once we finish testing and working some things out. Like one of the things we were trying to establish was the actual flight time, which I'll get into with my final thoughts as well. But in saying that, I did say that I would follow up with a flight footage. I did not follow up with the flight footage, and there's a few reasons for that. Mainly is just my ability of being a pilot on that particular model. I did explain that I'm fairly new to that, and I can fly it very well in the first two modes, but the third mode of what they are calling acro mode, I had a hell of a time, and that's where I've experienced pretty much all my crashes. And I crashed it to the point where my SD card won't even be recognized by the board. So I did have to send it into Hubsan in California, and that's where it is right now. I do have flight footage from when it was working and from when I had my action cam on my hat. But it's really nothing that is even worth showing. I'm not a real tight flyer. Most of my flights are longer flybys and turns and then come back and stuff like that. And capturing video of that, you don't even really see the quad. All you hear is it when it buzzes by my head each time, but when I would get out, you don't see it. So I'm not going to waste my time and bother, or waste your time and bother posting that in my YouTube channel. Plus, not only that, it just tends to set yourself up for all the people that like to hide behind their computers and come onto your channel with some fake name and not their actual name, and just leave rude comments and waste your time. So to avoid that, which I get a lot of, as my fan base in that area is pretty high, I get a lot of that, so I'm not going to set myself up for it. If I have anything that is actually any good in capturing flight video with the H123D, then of course I will post it. But by now you've got plenty of reviews out there. These reviewers are doing flight videos. You get some people that are just owners that don't really have a big channel, but they like to share their flights. There's plenty of that stuff out there now, so they are all much better than what I can do. So basically, I'm just apologizing because I did not follow through with what I said and put in a flight video. But it doesn't it doesn't qualify for people to start coming out and hitting me hard with comments and things that are just really not appropriate or needed for something so minimal. But now I got that out of the way, the other thing I wanted to say on a positive side is I wanted to thank RC Sailors. They've got the H123D, and now they have, I think, 2 videos out, definitely 2 videos, at least. And on both of those videos, they mentioned me in my channel, and they posted the link to my channel, and that was very nice. Did not have to do that. I'm a small channel. I'm just doing my thing as far as just trying to do introductions of new models and keep people updated on some of the things we find out in testing. And then if there's certain things that need a fix that Hubsan didn't fix prior to production that still exist, then you'll have that fix. One example would be the H122 Storm. as you know, the props would fly off of that. So, one of the quick, simple fixes was just to put a little bit of Loctite on there, and it would hold that little collar in place that was coming off. And so it's those type of things that I like to do. I'm not a reviewer or anything like that, so my audience is not as wide as theirs. And I just thought it was really nice that Nate from RC Sailors mentioned me and gave the shout out and posted a link to my group. And I want to say thank you very much, Nate. That was nice. And as a payback, hopefully I have something for you in this video that I completely forgot about that existed with the storm. And I had to kind of figure it out, but I did figure out how to do it. Unfortunately, I didn't have my quad to fly it and test it, but I can show you how to do it, and you can test it, and all of you watching, and you can test it too, and I'll explain what that is. Got that out of the way, and then today, just prior to sitting down and doing this video, I got a nice little message from Ready Set Drone. So that's just kind of cool. Again, I'm just a small channel. I'm not near the caliber of all these guys, and it was nice of him to stop and take the time, watch some of my videos, and then stop and give me a comment. So a little shout out to Ready Set Drone. And the cool thing about that is, about 3 years ago, I guess, starting out in the hobby with the Hubsan products. Prior to that, I was flying a different product, but then I found Hubsan, and before pulling the trigger and buying one, it was those people that I would watch. I'd watched RC Sailors, Ready Set Drone, Quadcopter 101, Dustin Dunnell. Those were kind of the top ones that I would watch. And I did watch also, who was very big with Hubsan at that time too, Drone Worship. And but if any of you really know me and know Drone Worship, the two of us kind of did not get along and butted heads. But I can make the announcement that him and I called a truce through the white flag, and we talked it out. Actually talked on the phone. I probably talked to him almost an hour, and we did our normal little debate back and forth, but we got along. It was a cordial conversation. We just kind of agreed, stay on each other's side of the street, and don't play any games, and don't stir anything up. And both of us, as far as I know, have been sticking to that. I have anyhow. I haven't been doing anything to stir the pot there. But it was all people like that I started out watching. So it's really cool when I just have this small little channel and they take the time to recognize me and give a shout out to my my channel. And I also had the opportunity in testing some of Hubsan's products to work with Dustin Dunnell and Quadcopter 101. They were testing them as well, and whenever I test products, I always do a private test group and pull people into it and have them test with me, because I usually get 5, sometimes 8 other testers that I pick, and Hubsan sends them the product, and then we all get into a group and test it together. Excuse me. And so I was able to have that opportunity to do that with those two guys as well. So all these people that I kind of started out watching, it's cool that I got to work with a couple of them, and that a few of them, gave me a shout out or took the time to even just say hey. So thank you to all of you. And as I said, Nate, I'm going to have something for you. So hopefully this is something you don't already know, and it'll help you with the particular problem that you mentioned in your video. So that being said, wanted to first say that as I told you, my H123D is in California with Annie. They're working on it, and I told them just take your sweet time with it, no rush whatsoever, because thank you to Susan at Miffley Drone for sending me a brand new one. So fortunately now I have one, and I can get back out there and try to get a little bit better at it and hopefully get some flight footage. I'm not promising you guys any flight footage, but hopefully get some flight footage. So let's get the ball rolling on my final thoughts. And I know what you're thinking, I'm doing an unboxing. No, I'm not doing an unboxing. I think I've said this in most all my videos. I do not do unboxings. I don't like unboxings. Whenever I go to somebody's channel and I'm watching an unboxing, I just kind of have to fast forward through that part of it, because I understand it's for the new people, but most of us already know what's in the box. So ooh, Hubsan, we have a problem. It's supposed to be a quad here. Transmitter and everything else, but no quad. That's bad. Alright, I'm not going to carry on with that anymore. That was pretty corny. But there's a reason for it. There is no drone in this box. I have previously opened the box and just resealed it. Here's the quad. And there's a reason why I did that. And first I want to say to the member of my group that I'm going to talk about now, I'm not making fun of this at all. I think it's terrible. But in a way, it's just kind of comical, because it's just like, you know, just when you've seen it all, you find something like that. What happened was a member of my group, he did an unboxing, and when he cut the tape and opened up the box, there was no quad inside. And he contacted me, kept it quiet, didn't post it in the group or anything like that, but he contacted me, showed me the video, and of course contacted Hubsan. And because it's not the supplier's problem, it's Hubsan's problem. And I haven't talked to him since, so I don't know if they've quickly got him out. I would have overnighted the guy once, so I hope they did that. But I only did that just because I just wanted to show you that did happen. And it's terrible, but it's unexcusable is what it is. But it is something that I just had to kind of chuckle at, because when he opened up the box and there was nothing there, I couldn't see his face, but I know what my face would have been like, and I know what would have been coming out of my mouth, and I probably would have tossed the box across the room. But he handled it very well. He seemed like he was very calm the whole time. And in talking to him, he was bummed, and rightfully so, because you wait. I mean, you know this is coming. You put in your pre-order, and you wait for it, and then you get it, and you open up the box, and there's nothing there. You get a transmitter. What are you going to do with it? So with that, I just need to say, Hubsan, you gotta do something about your quality assurance. I mean, that should not happen. I'm a technician, and I work in a large facility where they do production. And one thing we have is everything that goes through production runs down a conveyor, and it goes on top of a thing called a check weigher. You set the weight. You pre-weigh a good package, you set the weight, and then if one comes down with the drone missing in it, it'll come down and hit that check weigher and just get kicked out, and then it'll get put into a bin. And then later on they can inspect it and figure out what's missing and put the right stuff in there and run it back through. So Hubsan, well, obviously you don't have a check weigher. You need to get a conveyor system with a check weigher on it. So when you have something and you're missing a bag of screws, it will detect it and simply kick it out. And that way customers don't get missing product. So shame on you for that one, Hubsan, but again, it was kind of comical because just when I thought I've seen it all come out of this product or this company, something new happens. So that did happen. One other thing I want to point out, and we're starting to get into my final thoughts now. Still, when I got this one here, this is all I got was a quick start guide. Now this quick start guide, all it does is tell you how to do, I think, a stick rotation, a IMU calibration, and bind to controller. It tells you how to bind to two different controllers, the one it comes with and then the HTO11. I don't get it. I mean, I have a copy of a manual that Hubsan sent me. It's a rough draft. To me, the manual is pretty good. It has some of your just simple, typical little mistakes in it. But it's needed for people that don't know how to do the flips and some of the little troubleshooting things that are in there. There's very important information in there that nobody's getting because they're just getting this little quick start guide. So that's my first negative on this, is this quick start guide. It's helpful, but a proper manual is needed. So as far as I know, they're still not sending these out with a manual yet. They need to get that manual into production. And it's just another thing where something gets rushed and you don't complete it. And I totally think that this was rushed. There's things that are showing up now that if given the proper time with testers like my group and other testers around the world that have been testing this that they pick, there's things that would have been detected and fixable, which we'll talk about. So I think this was a rushed product, but again, I'm not putting it down. I think it's a great little quad. I have a lot of fun with it. So no manual, just a quick start guide. That's the one first thing. The next thing we're just going to jump right into is acro mode. It says acro mode, but this is not acro mode. At first I didn't know any better. I watched enough videos, did my research and everything, and thought this was acting like acro mode and thought I was just having a really hard time with it. Before I sent mine to Hubsan, I had a friend that I met just from flying down at the park. He's into racers, and I got in touch with him and had him fly it. And through my other testers in the group, they also confirmed it. This is not acro. But I got to see it firsthand, a professional acro flyer not liking it and explaining exactly what it was doing wrong and such. And then he had a Walkera, I forgot what it was, but then he showed me that, and what a world of difference. And when I got behind the controller on it, I was much better with that. So if I had a proper acro, I think I would be a pretty good acro flyer. So I'm going to blame my abilities on Hubsan. But what I should have done is I should have bought an actual acro flyer prior to testing this, and that way I could have kept up the weight with the other testers. I could have, been at the same level and showed my acro ability, but really I was just learning. And but I did find some other problems. I found the problems with the wires and things like that, and I know enough testing to do what I prefer to do, which is quality control. And I picked out the quality control issues, brought them to Hubsan's attention, and hopefully they will not be problems. The problem with the pinched wire all comes from this little screw coming up through the bottom for the ESC cover. I can guarantee you that's going to continue to be a problem. So if you get this quad, simply take the screw out, pull the pull the ESC covers, check your wires from the motor to the ESC. Myself and another tester, both of us had the exact same problem. I haven't opened this one up yet, but I can guarantee you I'll find one. Well, not guarantee you, because that way I'm making it sound like every single one's going to have this problem, and that's not the case. It's not going to be everyone, but just knowing the company and the product, these type of things don't go away. They usually continue. So just like the advanced transmitter with the bad pigtails, my God, how long did that go on? And it's still going on, not nearly as much, but still going on. So that's one of the final thoughts, and most of you already know this by now, probably from watching other people's videos. And I think the person that said it best was Quadcopter 101, and he called it a sports flyer, and that's basically what you're getting right here. Is this is a sports flyer, but it's not a downside. I mean, it's not a bad thing, because like I said, this thing is a ton of fun to fly. And don't tune out now, because it does get better. Plus I got a teaser for you guys, so keep watching. I got a teaser. But aside from doing being able to tune this yourself, which they're going to release that, this acro problem can be fixed. And it's not going to be strictly with you tuning it yourself. It's going to require a firmware update, for sure. This isn't going to be something you can tune out and make it a perfect acro flyer. Can you get it close? Can you make it so it's funner to fly in that mode for you? Sure, I'm sure you can. It would probably be you more experienced acro flyers being able to control a sloppy acro flyer. One person I'll throw out there again is Drone Worship. He had the 122, and he made it. He was really hard on it, rightfully so, because I think this was a flop. But he actually flew it really good. I was very impressed with the flying of it, and I actually had a good time with this quad. I got bored with it real quick, but I did have a really good time with this quad. So I don't 100% agree with his video of calling it junk, although it did kind of earn that name too, just with some of the problems. The boards are burning out and the props flying off and stuff like that. So I got lucky. I had a good one that didn't burn out a board or anything, and I enjoyed it for a short while till I kind of got bored with it, but I definitely don't call it junk. But anyhow, he did really well with it. So better acro flyers that can self-tune this will be much happier with it. Your true acro flyers, I don't think this will ever please you, just because once you get to a certain level and you're a really good acro flyer, you're just going to be critical of these type of things, and you're going to forget. This is only Hubsan's second one, so you know what you're buying before you get it. So to be so critical of it when this one definitely does not deserve it, I think I would have to call some people out if they're going to be real harsh on this, because I've never seen anything so tough. The one I sent to Hubsan looks as good as this brand new one. There's not a mark on it. And in one of Annie's live feeds, she mentioned somebody driving or flying their drone off the side of a mountain into a road down below at 100 feet, at least 100 feet. And that was me. She was kind enough not to say the name, but that was me. And all I ever did was bend the props, and you can bend them right back. Like I said before in one of my other videos, it's like they have a memory, and you can just put them right back. So it's super tough. That's a pro. That's one of the pros. It's almost indestructible. And they even have a video out now of them doing crash tests into a concrete wall. I can tell you I crashed it harder than they crashed it in that concrete wall. So it will take it. You'll be very impressed with how tough this is. The whole body, everything is extremely tough. So back to the cons. It is not acro mode, but your first two modes, which are basically a different variants of sports modes. Very enjoyable. The acro is fully functional in mode 1, and then mode 2 it's partially functional, and it's a lot of fun to fly. So the major thing is the acro mode, but again, it's fixable. They can fix this with firmware. Hopefully it's something they can do in the first shot, because then people are really going to start to get frustrated, and I could totally understand that, because you did want to buy it and have it fly acro, especially if you know how to fly acro, and if it's going to take them 2 or 3 updates to get it there, that's going to be very frustrating. So hopefully Hubsan, you get this sorted out quick, and people can start flying in acro and then self-tuning it to the way they want to fly it. This is going to be a great little seller, and I've already said it is so much fun. I highly recommend this, aside from what I've said about the acro, aside from what I said about the pinched wire, for something that is ready to fly. Get it, charge it, put it in the air. It's a good deal, and you will have a ton of fun with it. It is super fast. Not as fast as your professional racers, but this is really fast. So now that that's out of the way, the acro, I want to talk about flight time. Anybody with a little bit of common sense knew this was not going to be a 10-minute flyer. If you ever said that you thought it was going to be a 10-minute flyer because Hubsan said it was a 10-minute flyer, you're wrong. All drone companies will tell you that it flies so long, and then it turns out it's short of what they say. This is not close to 10 minutes. It's a little bit short. We tested the flight time. We wasted so much time testing just flight time alone in the short time that we were able to test this before it was released. And first we were going to come out with a flight window, and then throughout the different modes and putting all the numbers together, it basically worked out to one number. But it will be a window depending on how you fly, what mode you're in and such. So it could be a little above, a little below, usually about by a minute. But what we recommended to Hubsan, that's all we did is recommend it. We told them that's what we think it should be sold as. What they do with that is up to them, but I'm telling you right now, this is a 4-minute flyer. Which is good. 4-minute flyer for a racer, that's good. It puts it right in the class of other racers. And depending on what mode you're in, 4 minutes is enough, because I got quite a workout in 4 minutes, just controlling the thing. So that's the other thing. The flight time is not 10 minutes. It's 4 minutes. And aside from that, my only other problem that I can find with this that I do not like is the battery bay. You've got this battery bay. This little guy right here is the only thing that's going to fit in it. Sure, you can strap something to the belly, but then you got to do a long enough cable that's going to go into the outlet. So that's a problem. The battery's good for a 4-minute flight, but yeah, sure, you're going to have people that live in other areas, other parts of the world, where it's hard for them to get this Hubsan battery. Some of them cannot get this battery, and they're going to look for another battery, because one day this one's not going to work, or they need more. And they're not going to find one that fits in here, I can pretty much bet. I've already tried. I've searched everywhere trying to find a battery of the same spec or a little bit higher. I would like to have something with a higher C rating, which I did recommend to Hubsan as well. This is 25C. Um, Everybody in the group, that was one of the first things, one of the main guys picked out right away, and everybody agreed a higher C rating on this would be needed. But the two batteries that I did purchase to try did not fit. They didn't come, they were very close to this, but you could not get them to set in here. They would have to ride up high like that. So that's one thing I do not like, is having the restriction of this battery. So that's really the only other con I would give this. Other than that, this thing is awesome. And I'm fortunate enough to be in the USA, and I can get these batteries as long as Hubsan's making them, so it's really not going to be a problem for me. But I know a lot of you guys, it's going to be a problem based on the country you live in and not being able to send batteries to your country. And I really feel for you guys. That's, if you bought this and didn't think about that, it's going to be a problem for you. So you're probably going to have to get you some adapters and make you some longer adapter plugs, and whatever battery you find, you're going to have to strap it to the belly. That's the only thing I can think of other than doing a modification and weakening the frame some. But that's it. The props are very strong. Like I said, they have a memory. Everything holds up really well. This canopy is super tough. The camera stays in place. It doesn't move around. You can loosen the screws on the side here and make it looser or tighter. It's awesome. It's a great quad. I give this quad a total thumbs up, despite any of the negatives I've said about it. And that's pretty much it for the quad. As far as the controller goes, at first I wasn't crazy about it. Then I first saw it and everything, and I was like, well, you know what, they did a good job, because they made some changes to make it work with this. It's not your standard transmitter that you're used to. They made the changes to make it dedicated to that. But then after using it, to me the keys are just, the gimbals are just too light, too weak. I know the one racer that I flew with my friends, they were a little stiffer, and I feel like I would just do better if I had something that had a little stiffer stick to it. Now, if you do take it apart, there are clips in there that you can tighten, and they do stiffen them up a little bit. But I think that might mess me up on this one, because it won't go back as, I don't know, I think it'll just mess me up and down, left and right, in all directions on this one. I think it's just too loose. But that's really my only gripe with this controller. Other than that, it has everything it needs. I probably wouldn't go with a panel antenna, but everything we buy, a majority of us upgrade the antennas anyhow, so I'm not really going to gripe about that. But here's one thing I'm going to tell you. Hubsan, thank you very much. You send two batteries with these. So you get the battery that's already in the quad, and then you get another battery in the box. That's great. I asked for extra battery, and I meant for the transmitter. So I don't know if that was just a translation thing, or if they just said, you know what, that's not important, we would rather give an extra battery for the quad. I really don't know. But still, people have a hard time getting LiPos. The transmitter takes AA batteries, but you can, with the JST plug, you can put in a little LiPo as well. The JST plug, I mean the AA batteries, they don't last. And if you buy the higher rated ones that are rechargeable, they take longer to charge than a LiPo. So I'm going to predict most people would prefer a LiPo. So Hubsan, please, just everything you make, every transmitter, every accessory that takes a LiPo battery, just put it in there. You've got to keep in mind, some people cannot buy the LiPo batteries that will fit specifically for things, and then they have to tape them on the outside of the transmitter because whatever the generic one they found doesn't fit. So that's my gripe on this. Hubsan, you're not sending these with a battery. Please put a battery in the transmitter. I don't know about others, but I would pay a little bit more if you would just put a battery in the transmitter. So other than that, in the sticks, that's really all I have to say about the transmitter. The FPV is pretty good on it. And that leads me to what I promised you, Nate, of RC Sailors. One thing you could do with this one here is you could boost the power for your FPV and give yourself more range. And it took me a little bit to figure it out because it's not explained in here, but I think it does have it. Like I said, I haven't flown this one yet, so I haven't tested it, but I think I definitely have it for you. And the reason why I pick you out to tell you is because when you were talking about flying with your goggles and you do flips or whatever, and you have the blackouts and cause you to crash, I had the exact same thing with my goggles. So I'm hoping this takes care of it, because this is going to boost your signal for your FPV, and hopefully you won't have those blackouts or the hazy screen of static whenever you're doing flips and rolls. So to do that, take your throttle stick and keep it down and just turn on the transmitter. Okay, so you turn on the transmitter and then you just press and hold the right stick, and that takes you into the menu. So once you're in the menu, you don't do anything, don't move anything, don't do anything, and then you want to go to the video button right here. You're going to press and hold that, and when you press and hold that, you should hear 2 beeps. Okay, that's 1. That's what I don't know. It'll do 1 and then it'll do 2. Okay, so I think the 1 was turning it on. Let's see if it resets. Go in the menu. No, it does not reset. So if you press it and it's 1 beep, that might be turning it on. You'll have to figure that part out, because it gives you nothing on the screen. It tells you nothing. So you press it once, then you get 2 beeps. Press it again once, and you get 1 beep. So one of those turns it on, one of those turns it off. But that, I am certain, puts it into a high power mode for the FPV. So you want to give that one a shot. And also anybody else that uses goggles or experiencing FPV problems with the jet, you want to try that and test it. And please, anybody that does it and tests it, you're probably going to get to it before me. So it'd be great if you would just leave a comment at the bottom of the video after you've tried it. And if you've done a video where you can show it, you know, feel free to post a link to your channel, and I don't mind publishing your stuff so people can see. The whole thing is here is people just getting knowledge and learning these little tricks. And the last thing I want to talk about is this controller here. This is the HT011A. In my video talking about it before, we discussed that you could use the HT011A, with the only difference being that you've got the spring stick here. Here's what turns out. I was able to bind to this, to my original one, with this controller, but I don't understand. I guess it's just, well, it's going to be because the firmware in this is not compatible. It was good enough to bind and fly, but you're locked into one mode, normal and expert mode. In the 3 different flight modes, they don't do a single thing. So one thing I picked up is, I'm not going to say this is 100% for sure, but one thing I picked up on in one of Annie's live feeds, I think she said, and I just haven't talked, I've talked to her almost every day, but I just keep forgetting to ask. I think she said they're making the controller, want this exact controller, but they're making it specifically for this. So it won't be a spring, it'll be just like this one. And they're gonna make these, it'll be programmed so these work for the quad. And the only other problem with that is you're going to need an FPV screen if you're not using goggles. So with that said, I want to say once again, Hubsan, with this transmitter, you've got a good FPV screen that you sell with your old goggles from the storm. Make that part of the package with this controller, not just for this quad, for your 501A, 501M. Make it a high-end package. If people want it, they'll buy it. If I didn't already have that and I wanted this transmitter and knew that I would want FPV, I would pay for that FPV screen because it's actually a very good FPV screen. I'm very happy with Hubsan's FPV screen, and I use it on my other quads. If you notice here, I've got little feet. They're just strictly coat hangers that I took the screws out of the back and pushed these up in the hole, and then I put rubber feet on there. Because that's the other problem with this transmitter is it becomes a rocking chair, and as soon as you set it down it flips over on its back. But anyhow, that's not important. So my saying that you could use that controller was strictly based on the information they gave me here in the manual. They don't tell you it's an HTO11A, they just show you a picture of it. So I have no reason to believe that they weren't talking about that, but it turns out those functions don't, those keys and stuff don't work with it. There is one place where they mention it, and I should have just had that ready for you, I apologize. There was a place they mentioned it where they call it the HTO11, not HTO11A, and maybe that's what they're going to call the new one, so I don't know. I'm going to verify this with Annie though and see if they are indeed making a controller just like this, but specifically for that with the no spring and the gimbal and functioning buttons that actually work with the quad, so we don't have to update this one and have it not be compatible with, say, our 501As. Because I really like using this. I really like this transmitter. And that brings me to another thing. This is a good transmitter. I've had no problems with this transmitter. They do have an issue though, and it is lacking something. So I'm going to just go ahead and give you my final thoughts on this transmitter while I'm at it. The way the wires run for the gimbals, they come, I believe they come undone. I haven't had any problems, but people have in my group. The very first person to pick it out is actually one of my testers on this. His name is Nick, and he's been in my group for a while, and I consider him a good friend. And he's also made me some Hubsan shirts, not this one, but a couple other shirts. He lives in Greece and made those and sent them out to me, which was very nice of him. But he also tested this, and first one, I think one of the problems, maybe it wasn't Nick. I'm pretty sure it was Nick. One of the problems were the wires inside, and they come undone, or they break the connection and have to be resoldered because the wires are very kind of sloppy and loose in here, and when you are working the sticks, they're moving around and getting kind of a little tug of war happening. So that's a problem. That is a quality control issue. So that's something that Hubsan knows about now and hopefully is addressing. But it's a quick, easy check by taking out the 4 or 5 screws in the back and checking it out and rerouting the wires nice and neat so there's no stress on them like there is now. It's something I didn't pay attention to on this one, but I should. And the other problem with this transmitter is they don't have a mode to switch out of GPS mode to altitude hold mode. So that's kind of a problem. If you ever saw this before it was released, there was two switches up here, two-way switches, just like this, except they're right here on this transmitter. And one would have been probably GPS and altitude hold. And then the other could have been whatever they wanted to make it, because you already have return to home and dummy mode out here. And that's a problem. So if you do have this controller, it is a very good controller. It's got the one problem on a few of them with the wires that it's just something that you need to check. If you've been in this hobby and you buy Hubsan products, there's just certain things you got to check and fix yourself. But that's an issue that needs to be taken care of. But not having the altitude hold in GPS mode, I don't understand how that one even slipped out, because they really limit themselves to making this a Wi-Fi only. I like to use it for the 2.4 gigahertz flight control, and then putting the FPV screen on here for my 5.8 FPV. And I can use the return to home on the app. So, I mean, no, sorry, you cannot use the return to GPS and altitude hold that way. If you're flying it with the 501A, then you can do the functions up there. Pretty sure you can put it in the altitude hold. Almost certain you can put it into altitude hold. I don't want to drag this out. I'm not sure. Somebody can check that in the app and tell me. I'm almost certain you can go into altitude hold in the app. Maybe you can't. I'm thinking maybe you can't now. But anyhow, that is a big thing that I can't believe they left out. So that needs to be taken care of with this controller. That needs to be upgraded. And hopefully it's as simple as putting in a switch and it already has a place on the board to do that. And then we can simply buy the switch and plug it in ourselves. One thing I want to point out though is, just like the quads, people have flyaways and they automatically blame it on, let's say, the 501. So many times you hear people saying, oh, I don't want to buy that because all I hear about is flyaways. There are so many reasons for flyaways, and usually it's not the quad. Usually it's something like interference. Now this is a Wi-Fi controller as well as 2.4. And somebody, I'm not going to say his name, somebody I saw in a group, he made it, and I'm just going to say ignorant. It's an ignorant statement to go ahead and just blame flyaways on a controller. This controller does not cause your flyaways. I've never had an issue with it. I've got so many other members that have this, and I don't think that we're getting a bunch of reports of flyaways. But somebody was talking about it in the group, and then I posted my video on how to do the quick start and bind and the calibrations. Which, if you don't know how to do stick calibrations, I do have a video on that, because they don't explain that, I think, in the manual. But his comment was, get rid of the HT011A. Too many QC issues, gimbal wires causing control issues. I just addressed that. It's something you can look for and fix. That's like saying don't buy the advanced controller because they have bad pigtails. It's a great controller. You just have to know what to look for, and people like me and others are giving you the information how to fix the problem and what to look for. trying to be a solution to the problem, not part of the problem. This person here is a part of the problem by telling somebody just get rid of it and scaring other people off, just with an ignorant comment like that. So it's, again, he says too many QC issues, gimbal wires are causing control issues, GPS lock not holding. I haven't had that problem. Yeah, I don't think I've had that problem. No, nothing more unusual than their wonderful app. And then no altitude hold mode available. So yeah, that's true. There's no altitude hold mode available, and that probably pretty much confirms what I was saying about the app not having it either. I don't know what else to say about this statement except it's ignorant, and he ended it with also has caused reported flyaways of the 502S. That would tell me that it's probably interference. If you're going to say it caused a flyaway of a 502S, that's one single case, so you can't go ahead and blame that on this. I would say that's probably an interference issue, or it could be multiple things. But this is a good controller. Any of you that are afraid of getting it, the only thing I can tell you is open it up quickly when you get it and check the wires, or wait until they have a switch for altitude hold and GPS mode. And buy the FPV screen. It's awesome. You can buy them all over the place. They're cheap, different types, brands. But the Hubsan one, it works very well. If you're in my group and ask other people that have it, I think you'll find that people are very happy with it, and find it to be a very good, useful screen and controller combination for all the quads. It works with virtually all of the Hubsan quads. So it's something I recommend, and the screen does bind to this, so you can use the Hubsan goggles that come with this guy. You can use those goggles with this. It will bind. I don't remember if you get full telemetry and all that stuff. I'm not sure if you do, but it does bind, and it is doable. All right, that's it. I think I covered it all. Yeah, I covered it all. So those of you who want to go ahead and leave your thumbs down, go for it. It really doesn't bother me. I'm only pointing it out because I just want to educate you on one more thing. Most of you, there's nothing I explained here that is anything bad to where it really is deserving of a thumbs down. So most of you, or all of you, who are giving me thumbs down, it's a thing where your pride is still hurt, or you can't look in the mirror and see who you really are. And I'm sorry to get this at a personal level now, but you're all people that were in my Facebook groups. I have 3 Facebook groups. At one time, I had a larger following. I cut the group down, and maybe that made some people sore, but it's a contributing group. If you don't contribute at all, to where you have not had any life in the group whatsoever, which I can find out just by simply checking, you didn't click a like on anything, you didn't comment on anything, you're not contributing anything, you're there just kind of lurking in the background. And sometimes I cut those out because I don't like to have a large group. It seems like as soon as you get over 1,000, that's when you start having the problems. The more people you have, the more problem people you have. So I try to keep my group under 1,000. But the main important thing is those of you who are really sore at me are the ones that deserve to be kicked out. I've done nothing to you. All this false stuff going around about me saying things, I'm not even going to bother saying what you're saying. I'm saying making up fake texts and showing them out in groups that I did these. Hubsan's made it clear that they don't appreciate it because they do support me and they do back me. And I'm making it clear that I don't appreciate it. And you can give your thumbs down, because that lets me know that you're still wasting your time to watch my videos and give me the view. I'm smart enough to know if I don't like you, I'm not going to come to your channel. I'm not going to watch your video and give you the view click. I'm not going to add that number of me watching your video just so I can go in there and give you a pathetic thumbs down. But if you just can't resist and you have to continue giving me thumbs down, I really do not care. The only reason I'm pointing it out is I just want to let you know, thank you for the view count, and I also want to give you a tip. Don't do it so quickly. That just tells me that you have multiple screens, multiple accounts. When I see somebody, go out of the video and it's like 3 dislikes, and I come back and it's 7, automatically in a couple 15 to 30 seconds. That's one person with multiple accounts going through their account and clicking dislike as many times as they can. That's just petty and pathetic. But I understand not everybody is a decent person, and you're sore because you were removed from the group, and you were removed for a good reason, but you just don't see it. So sorry to drag that out, but as I promised, I have a teaser. If you waited long enough in the video to get here, I have a teaser for you. And now you're going to be mad at me and probably give me a thumbs down, because all I can tell you is there's a new product coming. That's it. That's all I can tell you. There is a new product coming. It's not a racer, I'll tell you that. Hopefully not. They need to work. They need to focus on this one. But that's all I can say. It's a new Hubsan product coming. And okay, I'll say more. It's something many people have been wanting for a good long time, and probably something you might not be wanting. So I'm gonna leave it at that. That's all I'm saying on it. I don't leak anything. I never leak Hubsan stuff. That's one thing they can never accuse me of. I do not leak any of their stuff. I might tell my best friend, I might tell my wife, but I do not leak their stuff. There's never been a leak that came from me. That's a fact. And that's something I'm proud of, because I do like to help Hubsan, and I do like to work on their products and keep it quiet as long as possible. So I can just give you a teaser. But that's what I always say in my videos. Subscribe for the latest content, and there will be something new coming. I don't know if I'll be doing any videos between now and then, but if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. Usually I'm one of the first, and I don't try to be the first, but I'm one of the first that you usually actually see the product in hand. Hubsan always shows you before I do. I won't ever go and show something before them. All right, I keep talking. Thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for all of you and your support. And like I said, all of the YouTubers that mentioned me in their videos. And for Sailors for posting my link. That was very nice of you. And I will put all those links in the bottom in the bottom of this one, all of the YouTubers that I mentioned, even you, Dan. And that's it. Take care.